Hello and welcome to my January wrap-up, What's Coming in February reads. This year I've started recording things a little better, so I have my old school paper book, and all I do is write down my books, start, and finish date. Now on the thumbnail I only had 2 books, and that's because of the 7 books that I've read this month, 2 I own and 5 came from the library, which is unusual for me. It's generally the other way around, but I got onto this ACOTAR reading thing, and I don't own the books, and I'm sorry I'm not paying $70 for the 5 books. Certainly not when I can get so many more than that at my thrift store for $70. So, what did I read in January? The first book that I have listed, and it's because we are doing a group read, my co-host Ven and I decided to read The Wheel of Time for the second time. We have a number of other people joining us who are reading it for the first time, so it's exciting to hear about their experience with the book, as well as revisit a series that I enjoyed. The Eye of the World is the first book in the series, and in this book we meet all of the main characters who we are going to continue to meet throughout the other 14 books in this series. If you've watched the Prime series, which is how I found out about these books, it's very different from the books. At some point I will do a comparison, but what I found is watching the first 2 episodes, I made notes as I was reading the first book, and it's just going to get to be a boondoggle trying to keep straight what's happening in the series versus what's happening in the books. The next book that I read in January is Blood Communion. That is book 13 in the Vampire Chronicles series. Now, Kat from Ginger Bibliophile and I are going to be starting the whole Chronicle series in March with Interview with the Vampire, but I don't have Blood Communion, and as Kat and I have both been discussing, you can no longer count on just going to the library and picking up the book that you want when you want it. So I read that ahead and made some notes. By the time we get to the end of the series, I may reread it again if it's available through the library. I read Frost and Starlight, which is book 3.5 in the ACOTAR series. It's a novella and focuses on Feyre and Rysand, of course, in the Night Court. And I'll talk more about those different books in an upcoming video. I think at the end of the month, because Sarah J. Maas is also an author with banned/challenged books, and have had her books removed from a number of different areas. Mist and Fury, which is book 2 of the ACOTAR series, and yes, I did read them out of order, part of that based on availability through my library, because even though this isn't a brand new series, there seem to be a number of people currently reading it, and the hold is anywhere from several weeks to almost a couple of months, depending on the book that you want. It's interesting that with all these challenges, it seems to be having the opposite effect. And instead of these books disappearing, thank goodness more people are taking interest and reading the works. The next book is Garlic and the Vampire. It was a sweet read, so cute, graphic novel, beautiful graphics, an amazing story, and I have done a review of that book. Wings and Ruin is book 3 in the ACOTAR series. As I mentioned, I'll talk more about all of those books at the end of February, as here in Canada, and yes, I have it marked on my calendar, Freedom to Read Week is from February 23rd to March the 1st. For more information about that, you can go to freedomtoread.ca. The final book that I finished reading in January is Overshadows. This was one of my birthday buys. This is by Richard Palmisano, a paranormal investigator from here in Ontario, Canada. And he investigates here in Ontario, which I enjoy because I like learning about different things about my own province. This is an investigation into a terrifying modern Canadian haunting. There were certainly some very scary and creepy things happening. The book is thought-provoking. I'll be doing a more in-depth look at this book in the future. And this is based on several years of investigation. It's why I enjoy Richard's work. It isn't these one and done type things that you see all over YouTube. This is actually over time, numerous hours of research and information. So I very much enjoyed the read. That is what I finished in January. Now, I personally don't do TBRs. I'm very much a mood reader. I look around my shelves for what do I want to read next. But this year, with so many different plans and projects and things on the go, I have to get a little bit of a jump start on things. To help me with that, I have my book events schedule here. So it lists my own personal reading, different groups that I'm involved with. I need to read The Keening. This is by Margaret Pinard. She will be joining me at the end of February for a live stream. And this is book 1 of Remnants. The next book that I'll be reading in the Wheel of Time series is The Great Hunt. This is book 2, and yes, a chunker like all the others. I also want to read Star Trek on the Brain, Alien Minds, Human Minds, and this is tying in with Gareth's book club on beliefs and behavior, where you read one book over 2 months. I enjoy that because it gives you plenty of time to get that read completed. And another book, and I'm hoping to have this finished today, The Demonologist by Andrew Piper. This is considered horror, has all the twisting excitement of a Dan Brown novel and all the lurid, gory violence of a Stieg Larsson. I actually read this several years ago, and the reason I remembered it's a reread is all the references to Milton's Paradise Lost. I've never read it. I remember what happens with some of the characters. The funny thing is, I didn't remember the title or the author. And I find that interesting because with Stephen King, those I read decades ago, but I'll talk more about this when I finally complete it. That's just a quick summary and just a few of the books that I plan to read in February. Hope your January reads went well. Wishing you all the best with your February reads. And until next time, take good care.